So why does the human brain hate uncertainty? I think we generally want things that are clear cut and have a clear answer to them. So when anything is unresolved, it's like a red flag pops up in our brain. And there's that mystery. Human beings don't like waiting too long when it comes to anything. You go fill out a job application and then you wait to hear back from them. And that waiting just drives you crazy. You think, what happened to my application? Did I mess up on it? Did they even receive it? Did they just say nope? And your brain will come up with 1,000 different scenarios of what happened to that application. Meanwhile, it's probably just sitting there in the database getting ready, just going through the process of getting reviewed. But we hate that unknown factor. And then you get the call for the job the job interview. You go, you get your interview done, and then what do you have to do? Wait again. You have to sit there and wait. And then the human brain thinks, was I not good enough? Did I not speak clearly enough? Did something on my job application come back? Did a former employer say something bad about me? Our brain just starts coming up with so many hypothetical scenarios and reasons when there's a waiting period within anything. The brain, it actually hates uncertainty. Our brains want clear-cut answers. Yes or no. But life doesn't work that way. Not everything is clear-cut. I mean, when it comes to anything, waiting on anything, there's nothing clear-cut. We hate uncertainty. The human brain hates uncertainty. And that can be kind of disruptive in life, especially if you're somebody who thinks too much. And a lot of us, that's exactly what we do. We think too much. And we spend our time ruminating over the unknown. Because when there's a gap of a lack of information, it creates the perfect environment for rumination. And rumination is your brain trying to solve an issue that it can't solve because of the lack of information in between. Think about when you're waiting to catch a plane. You book the ticket and you still got some time before you go on your trip. I mean, this happens to me anytime I go and do travel. I ruminate of every possible little thing that can go wrong. Is my passport up to date? Did I book the right date? Did I book the right airline? Am I gonna miss my flight? Those unknowns. And a lot of times we have to rely on information as we get it. And people don't like that. We want things clear cut. But the brain likes to ruminate and make up horrible scenarios of what could happen. In some instances, we become paranoid. Paranoid of something bad happening. The worst is, I got lost. With whatever it is, if you got something important you had to send out, your documents or your taxes or an application for something. Did it go through? What's going on? The rumination is the worst. And the worst part is 9 times out of 10, you have to wait, and there's nothing that you can do in that waiting period. So, how do we stop ruminating? How do we stop, how do we get better at dealing with the silence? How do we prevent our mind from constantly just recycling every single worry of every possible thing that can go wrong? Well, first off, you can't stop every thought from going through. If anything, it's counterintuitive. Your mind's going to cycle through, and your mind's going to think of whatever thoughts it's going to think about. That's just your brain doing its job. Your brain is supposed to scan for threats. Your brain is supposed to look for possible things that can harm you. And that's not helpful when you're trying to get to bed at night and you can't sleep because you keep thinking about if your job application went through, or if you're going to get that job that you really, really want that would be good for you. So we have to accept to some extent that we're not going to be able to stop thinking completely about things. So instead of fighting our thoughts all the time, it's better to acknowledge them. A lot of people say, oh, just don't think about it. It's nearly impossible to not think about things that are important or serious in your life. Rather than trying to avoid thinking about it, your best practice is to acknowledge the things that come up. For instance, whatever it may be. If you're worried about, did my application go through? Did they get it? Acknowledge, okay, that's a real possibility. That something could have happened, that they didn't accept you for the job, that the application got lost. Those are very real possibilities. In a chaotic world, even the unlikely is possible. First thing is to acknowledge, okay, there's a possibility that might happen. And the brain will sometimes be like, well, what are you going to do if that happens? And then you have another problem that you have to solve. If it helps, say to yourself, well, if that happens, then I'll just have to handle it, or have to do something different. So your brain wants solutions to problems. But you don't want to give your brain too many problems. There's an old saying of, we'll cross that bridge when we have to. I think that's the term. And a lot of times, that's the best advice, to solve problems when they come up. That's a better practice than to simulate 10,000 things that could go wrong. Also, preparation is a big helpful sort of thing. The more you prepare, the higher probability that you're going to get the outcome that you want. So preparation is important, and preparation can also kind of ease the stress of that uncertainty or waiting period of whatever problem or issue or thing that you're dealing with. Rumination it sucks. It really does suck. I wish it was easy to just stop thinking about the bad things, but you can't. You can't always stop thinking about the bad things. I think we can improve our mental cognition over time. In fact, I think we're able to, a lot of times, and with great practice, you can stop the rumination so much. You can lessen it by realizing that you're ruminating. Anytime that you realize that you are ruminating, over worrying, and stressing yourself out, if you can realize it and stop and say, oh, hey, wait a minute, this is what I'm doing again, that sort of metacognition gradually will train your brain to realize when it's happening and self-correct. Because you can train your mind to be less stressed, to be less anxious, to lessen rumination. Now, stress, anxiety, rumination, worry, fear, those things don't disappear completely. And quite frankly, you don't want them to, because it's part of your normal neurocognition to have these emotions or feelings, or however you want to call them. It's normal to have them. They're part of your brain. You're going to have to just learn to accept being able to deal with fear, worry, stress, anxiety, all sorts of these sort of things. They're not going away. However, you can train your mind to manage them better, if that makes sense, through practice. And it doesn't happen overnight, but once you can start realizing your thought patterns, and you know what triggers you, you know what makes you stressed, you know what gets you paranoid, you know what makes you ruminate. Once you can see those cycles or the patterns, and you got to look for them, it comes with a certain sense of awareness. If you have that awareness of those certain neurological cycles that you run through that lead you to have all these negative feelings, then you can start to gain more control over your mind that way. It sounds a little out there, but there's nothing mystical or magical about it. It's learning the way your mind works. And see, I think that's the thing, is that a lot of people don't understand how our mind works, how their mind works, because everybody's brain is different and unique to them. Some people's minds are different. Some people are way more stressed out and way more anxious than others. Some people are calmer and cooler under pressure or whatever. It's based on your own brain chemistry. And your own brain chemistry is nothing wrong with you. It's not like you did anything wrong. Your brain chemistry is your brain chemistry. That's how your brain is. I think all of us would like to be a little bit more calmer. All of us would like to feel a little less anxiety, a little less stress. But point blank, everybody feels those things. So if you get overwhelmed, if you get stressed out, if you find yourself ruminating, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. In fact, it's fairly normal to have these feelings. They can feel abnormal because some people have higher levels of anxiety and ruminate way worse. And because that's just how the brain works. And unfortunately, not everybody has that Zen Buddhist mindset. And that's okay, because you can improve. You can improve your metacognition. And it starts by looking at your mind and being honest with yourself. You know yourself to a certain degree and certain level. I recommend grabbing a piece of paper and jotting down some of the negative aspects about your mind and being honest with yourself about it. Kind of facing your brain, facing your mind. Because there are definitely things about ourselves that we don't like. Our minds especially. There's certain things that it drives us crazy. That's just like, why am I like this? I can't stand myself. And that's normal. And that is okay. You're going to find your way in this lifetime. And the key to it is taking control over your mind. Little by little. You can train your brain to be less anxious, to be more calm, to ruminate less. It's not easy, and it requires some effort, and it requires you to kind of face your mind. So, face your mind. Stand up to yourself. Listen, if you like this video, like, subscribe, hit that notification button, comment in the comments below. Tell me if you like these videos. Tell me what else you want me to talk about. We'll see you on the next one.